The suppression of the use of marijuana and of the forces lurking behind it are the most important jobs this department is now engaged in. In 1930, the records on marijuana in the Washington office of the Narcotics Division scarcely filled a small folder like this. Today, they fill cabinets.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Coloradians and everyone that's smart enough to listen from the outside.
It's one of the most amazing plants we've ever discovered.
The pot party, the trippers, the grasshoppers, the hip ones, all gathered in secrecy and flying high as a kite.
I got Winnie Bucks.
Y'all, we're back in studio. By God, am I exhausted, but Stoned Appetit is back on track. We said we would have posts while Kip is on vacation, but per Kip fashion, that didn't happen. But we've got a doozy of a week. We've got a kick-ass guest joining us on the back end Thursday. We're talking the best hummuses in the city. But we have probably our biggest episode to date, here and now. Before we get into that, CB, how are you?
I mean, coming off this past weekend, I'm riding high.
Hell yeah.
Some may say high as a kite.
Shout out to our friends over at Starbucks. Yeah, I mean, you had one of the biggest weekends that one can have. Outside of like Bo Jackson going 4 for 4 and then turning around and running for 200 yards. You pretty much did everything, and I can't wait to hear more about it. All of Chris's big weekend announcement, for those that follow us on social media, you already know the big engagement. We're also going to recap all of Europe. I mean, I pretty much just got myself all in the guts of the Axis power, Chris. I was all over the place. All that, and then we also did a background check on Eve, so we're going to talk about that, just to make sure that we weren't surrounded by psychopaths.
Yeah.
It's going to be a doozy of an episode, but before we dive into that, let's give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Ricky, Seltzers, and our friends over at Connect for Health Colorado. As you're listening to this, we're 1 week removed from the open enrollment period for Connect for Health Colorado. So for our friends in the small business world, for our friends that are 1099s, for our friends that maybe quit their restaurant job or in between going into a new company, and you need to make sure your family is covered in 2024 because the options weren't valid or worthy enough for the whole team, Connect for Health has everyone covered. And it doesn't stop there. Maybe you're new to the country. Maybe, you have a couple other situations at the helm. They help in all of those aspects. There is a team that is dedicated to helping folks both from our hospitality industry, maybe to those that don't speak English, everything under the sun for the food and beverage and the cannabis community, for our legacy growers and everything like that. Connect for Health Colorado has a plan for you. I can tell you from firsthand, if you don't have health insurance, your bank account will be wrecked forever. We have had to use GoFundMes for folks and our friends and families because of how the world's healthcare or America's healthcare works. That's why we're so imperative and why we love working with Connect for Health Colorado. So we love being with them. It's fucking open enrollment season. I know they told me not to curse during the ad read, but they get what they pay for, and this is what they get. So there we go. You ready to get going, Chris?
I am. Let's dive into this.
When did you know you were going to propose? And don't say the first date bullshit. Nobody believes that.
Obviously not, unless you're a psycho. I want to say, I had been thinking about it for a little bit, and then when I finally made the decision, okay, let's do the whole ring shopping, that kind of happened end of August, beginning of September.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've been sitting on it, or does it take a little while to procure a ring?
Yeah.
Did you get a blood diamond? Can we judge you? Let's see your papers. Did you get it from the Singalese?
We've got papers because
Nice.
we got to insure that baby. But no, yeah, I ended up going to Sarah O's on Tennyson, and they have a exceptional staff. Because honestly, you don't know, nobody knows shit about diamonds.
Not in this room.
No. But when you walk in there, if you're, I imagine many other dudes out there have felt this, but when you go in there, that's when it starts to you're diving in there. You're getting into this, it gets a little hot, it's almost like that It's almost like that spicy, tingly hot that you get on your head sometimes.
Oh, like when you
you're
eat
eating.
like
Yeah.
peri chicken?
Yeah, that kind of
I do
spice.
know that
Your body
feeling.
gets there's just hot. But no, so that all started, and like I picked out several different things, and then got the like band made. So all that took a little bit longer, and then so I finally got it back 2 weeks, or like not this past Friday, but the Friday before that.
While I was
Yes.
conquering the world.
So so I went and picked it up Friday, and so I came back and hid it in the closet, but I hid it in like the back corner in a suit pocket, like a suit jacket.
Something she would have no business ever looking through.
Yeah, and if she did, and not to mention my closet's not in our bedroom, it's in like the office. So like if she was going in there to snoop around, we've got bigger fish to fry.
Be like, why the fuck did you find that?
Yeah,
I'm just kidding,
damn it.
Steph. We love you.
No, so but so when I got the ring like last Friday, I told her family, they all knew. And then, was talking with some of her friends, they all knew, and so they wanted to do a party. But then like the whole week leading up to it, number one, like nervous just about the whole fucking thing.
Like every day is a little bit more nerves.
Yeah. And like Monday is when it really synced in, because like then like I had worked on an email and all that stuff to send out about the party, and it's like
that email read very weird. I was like, what is he doing? Like, I thought you were proposing in front of 80 fucking people. I was like, that's ballsy, Chris.
Oh, no,
Like,
yeah.
It read so poorly. Like Mo and I were looking at it. I was like, is he going to propose in front of 80 people? Like, you're going to do like a gallery of friends?
Well, see, like Chappelle and them were like, I don't want to send this. You should be the one to send this. And then I was like, okay. And then so I just threw something on the top and then threw that in the middle. But yeah, so then I was like, I had to do it.
Yeah, you couldn't be like, I may wait another week.
But no, so yeah, we ended up like, I normally work from home on Fridays, but I told Steph I had to go into the office to work. Didn't do shit that day. I mean, you can't. Like, you're just...
You got to put down a couple bevies just to like cool the shakes.
You're a ball of nerves. But then,
I'm not bald.
Not yet. But then, so I was like, yeah, let's meet for an afternoon beer. And the funny thing was she sent me this post from Noble Riot, and she's like, ooh, maybe we should go have wine. And I was like, I'm actually in a beer mood today. So let's have a beer. And then she was like, she was starting to think of all these things, and I was like, oh, God damn it. Like, just go with what I'm saying. Everything's going to work out. So anyway, she met me at our mutual friend, and that was where we like first met. So I thought that'd be a cool little romantic thing. And so, yeah, we went there, and I was waiting there. And when obviously I got there a lot earlier. And so I went and got a beer, and then I was talking to these three people sitting behind us.
Chappelle's coworkers?
No, I didn't even know about that. So these were just three strangers. I went up and I was like, hey, fellas and ladies, my girlfriend's coming up here. I'm going to ask her to marry me. I was like, if y'all can try and capture the shot, that'd be awesome. If not, no big deal. There's no pressure. And they're like, oh, yeah, we fucking got you.
Well, fuck you, because I... obviously abroad, but was still thinking of you first. Shout out to me for being very humble and thinking of others. I was going to make one of these two ladies, shout out to Mimi and Eve for both being willing participants.
I know.
And you were like, no, that's not necessary. And I think Eve was like, she's not even going to say yes. But Mimi was all about it. What, Mimi? Or Eve, you don't have your microphone? You can't refute that? Oh, that sucks.
Damn.
Steph's mom's probably listening to this. She's like, we're not inviting Eve. But Mimi was over the moon. Like, I would gladly do it.
I love.
I know. So, like, we had like boots, like, and obviously Steph knows Eve. So if she had seen Eve, it would have been a little, she'd be like,
right.
Isn't that your producer over there? And I kind of thought that, but she doesn't know Mimi for shit, you know?
Right. And I was worried because there was like still juggling things, like wanting this night to go as planned to go to the surprise party. And then like Mimi wasn't going to get off and work until 5. And I was just like, I don't want her stressing. Whatever. But little did we know, like she got there and she could immediately tell, like, cause like the entire week she's been like, is everything okay? Like, I got one of those texts, like, is everything okay? I was like, yeah, I just got a lot on my mind and stuff. And she's like, you can talk to me. And I was just like, oh, my God, I just want to get through this week. And
That's so sweet.
yeah, and so when she got there, like I was just like trying to think of like ways to deflect, like I don't know, make up a conversation, and I couldn't think of anything. So finally, I was like, "All right, here we go," and I just stood up. And then
So there was no segue of conversation.
there
You were
wasn't
like,
a lot
"Look
of
at the
segue.
birds."
There wasn't a lot. I think it was like I'm about to go grab a beer, and then I just got up and
You should have done like a spin move, and everyone sees it online. Like you get up and then you say something, and we can't hear it to the full effect. But then you get down on a knee, which, in your age, shout out to you. You're quite nimble.
that was on concrete.
Dude, I know, bravo. But I wasn't sure if you were like, yeah, this is a new crush art wall, blah blah blah. Gentrification happened right here, and then bam. But I love it, man.
Yeah,
This is so awesome.
and it was so funny because one of her friends had sent 2 of her coworkers up there, and they were sitting facing directly at us. And like when I got down on the knee, I saw one of them picked up their camera to start filming, and I just thought, okay, this is just weirdos. But it turns out they were undercover. But everybody at the brewery
You're
clapped.
like, look at these voyeurs. Get a fucking life.
Get a room. Real original proposal at a brewery.
To be fair, that is quintessential Colorado, and obviously there's an underlying story. But if you don't drink for free at Our Mutual Friend from now on, I don't know what else you could do over there to, consummate the relationship, maybe on one of those picnic tables. That's the only other way to get free booze for life. That you pretty much sealed your deal. You're a lifer over there.
Everybody, the brewery, they came out and gave us beers. 2 strangers came up to us and they were just like, "Oh my God, we're ecstatic. Like you guys are so cute. Let us buy you a beer."
So you got blitzkrieged.
Yeah, and then
That's a German word I picked up.
it's art of war. So then we one of our good friends threw a party for us. So she had no clue about that, and we went down there and we were like FaceTiming. We were like calling all our parents, FaceTiming before, making sure everybody was there before we went in. And I was on the phone with my dad, and we were FaceTiming with him. And then they were just like, "Oh my God, we're so happy for you. Oh my God, this is so exciting, blah, blah, blah." And then they're like, "Did Steph love the party?" My dad said. And like, as he was saying that, like he could see like probably me wanting to slap through the fucking FaceTime and just like really sock him in the nose. And so he's like, "Ooh, ooh." And then he kind of made like these weird noises like he was trying to like deflect. And I was just like, Jesus Christ. Luckily, she didn't really capture the whole thing. But then the next day when I called my dad's like,
I'm so sorry.
yeah, he's like, for someone smart most of the time, I sure am dumb at times. And I was like, "Yeah, Dad, you really almost fucked that up." But anyways.
He really is he's smart as a whip. And Chris, we say the same thing about you. Like, God damn it. How can the acorn doesn't fall?
Yeah, it was fun though. It all worked out. We went back.
Was she surprised at the potty?
She was very surprised, and we were both surprised because her brother and sister-in-law flew in that day.
Oh.
And were there at the party. So that was the big.
Did you cry during the engagement?
Well, when I saw them, I cried because I love them, but then also like I knew what that meant for Steph, and so that's where I lost it. I cried a little bit
Ugly
walking
cry
in.
or
No,
casual?
it was just like one of those things, like a happy, like, "Oh my God, that's incredible that you guys came in for your sister," and yeah.
I'm a crier, so
Yeah.
I would have cried, and I hate that I missed it. But we'll celebrate with Steph because there's a bunch of new restaurants opening, and so we'll just take the whole team to go get dinner.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm excited, and I think the great thing about it is like if you have a good group of friends, they make it so much more special than it would be. Like I think having that big network makes everything better.
Yeah, and for 2 folks or 3 folks, if you count Steph, because she's she's Cali, and we don't want our listeners to get mad because we know how the Coloradans feel about the Californians. But at the same time, like having that extended family,
Yeah.
we're talking about Friendsgiving, in the coming weeks and doing the Madsgiving thing. But that is a very large in part like reason why you and I are still here 15 years later. You know, it's like we've built this community or these relationships that stand in place of family for those that maybe went back south or for those that have gone back west to start their families or things of that nature. So to see them kind of reciprocate that love for y'all, it makes my heart swell. I couldn't be more elated for the two of you. I'm just over the moon excited.
We're going to get so drunk. One thing I'm really curious as to whether or not women really know how troubling it is
to be a white cis male?
Yeah.
It's fucking impossible these days.
I mean, no,
We're always to blame.
I'm talking about like the whole process of like doing an engagement ring, wanting like the engagement to go smooth, wanting all that. And I know like the grand scheme of things, like, oh, it doesn't really matter. Like, we love you, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's a big deal. Like, I mean, I lost a lot of sleep. And then the day I was just a wreck. And then
so were you sweating profusely? Like,
yeah,
tell me more.
Give
me tips in case this happens
to me. In old school where Will Ferrell gets up there and does the debate and he's like, oh, I just blacked out. Like, that's what it was like. Like, as soon as she got there, I just like, it was just, let's do this. And so like, I was just like the whole night, I remember bits and pieces, but I just like, there was just so much goddamn emotion.
And you hear folks say the same thing about wedding nights. It's like, it goes so quickly, like you don't really remember anything, or you feel like you missed out on something because you kind of just like are in a whirlwind. And so it sounds like, a lot of women that listen to this podcast are going to roll their eyes a little bit, but for all the men that are listening, it'll be like, the married ones will be like, dude, same. Like the lack of sleep, I think probably resonates. Like our friend group, fucking Lippman, I don't even know what to say there. But like the messages, like we have a group chat with a lot of our friends here in town. And like all of them were like words of affirmation and support. And then Brian's like, yeah, man, don't let those sweaty palms, like, don't worry about if she's going to say no. Like she probably won't say no. And we were all just like, the fuck are you talking about, Brian? I mean, it had me cackling. I was on a boat in the middle of God knows where at like 4 a.m., like tickled to death with these comments.
Yeah, and then so the whole thing, I just started thinking about it, and I was like, last Friday was a gorgeous day. It was in the high 80s, and I was like, holy shit, it's sunny. It's 5 o'clock in Rhino. Our mutual friend is going to be bustling. And I was just like, oh, fuck. Like, there's a lot of people around. I don't want to make it a skeptical. But, like, there are actually less people in front of the building, which is why I chose to sit there than there were on, like, the side things.
You should have done it near Post Oak. You could have gotten a double dip of free beer and barbecue. Oh. But at the same time, it's like the guy that faked the heart attacks, like for 50 straight restaurants to get out of a bill. You can only do it one time. If you do it too many times, you're going to find yourself getting arrested.
Yeah, but shout out, and I think Chappelle's a listener, so shout out to Chappelle and Phil for throwing a hell of a party. And
I love them so much. Steph's crew, I mean, they're mirror images of us. They probably have a better head on their shoulders than our group. We're a little bit debaucherous, but they're just so fucking cool, and they are always showing their pouring support.
The one thing I do regret, and I was told about this by no other than Lippman, because obviously he's going to comment on something.
Classic Brian.
And he was like, dude, did you try that butter candle? And I was like, get the fuck out of here. I was like, where was there a butter candle? He's like, did you not?
At the party?
Yeah.
See, it's similar to that wedding thing again.
And I was just like, no, I was talking to people and I never found my way around to it. He's like, holy shit, Chris. They had like different butter candles with like rosemary and garlic and then these breads you could dip into it. And then everybody else I talked to, they were like, did you try the butter candle? And I was just like, fucking Christ, I did not get a piece of this butter candle.
Yeah, it's like when someone's like, yeah, your band was awesome, but like that buffet, and you're like, sorry, I had to do the cake, and then I had to do the first dance. Like, you'll get used to just missing out on things, but at the same time, don't ever forget that Littman will be there to remind you.
Yeah.
And he'll also sell you a secondary market ticket to any
Yes.
concert you may need.
So the weekend was great. I mean, that segued into
A 48-hour tailspin of just partying.
yeah,
debauchery.
and then Bama beating Tennessee, and then a Wilco concert last night at the Mission, and now we're here to Monday.
Ooh, okay. Well, Eve, you can feel free to chop all the fluff out of Chris's comments because this is the real meat and potatoes of this episode. It's my turn.
How was your trip?
Where do I start, Chris? This trip was not tailored or made for me at all, in the fucking slightest.
Did you
And
feel
I
shackled?
had a blast. So here's the whole details because I had none of them going into it. We were a part of a group of 20, mainly gay couples, and then our group of 6. So I thought, okay, yeah, cool, group of whatever. We were mixed in with a group of older British and American folks on a boat. They drink me under the table every fucking night. This was just a party barge. It's like a Hilton resort on the Rhine River. So when I say it's not tailored for me, it's tailored for an older demographic. You know, like you mentioned, was I shackled? And you and I have discussed it since I was gone. And your parents have done these types of events,
Yeah.
and we did it with the in-laws as well. And they're a hoot and a holler, like they go with the flow. And they also kind of a little bit younger than the target demo also.
Right.
But the crew, like, so what you do is you fly into Amsterdam, and then you party there for a night, and then you go on this boat, and you just start working your way up and down the Rhine, just playing with it. And so you start up, but the problems that I have with it is that I'm a peacock captain.
You gotta fly.
You gotta let me fly. And so this trip has a little too much bounds on me in that they're like, oh, you're not ported when you wake up. So I can't get off necessarily right when I wake up and just go
Right.
meander around, insert German or French or Swiss or Dutch town here. And that's okay. But when I travel and when you travel, we travel to party or to experience culture through cuisine and through architecture and things of that
And getting
nature.
lost.
I like to get lost in a multitude of ways. I think it starts, though, with the food. And so the food and the architecture are the shining lights of all of these old world towns. So
Right.
most of this trip, it starts in Amsterdam, goes up to Kinderdijk, or Kinderdijk, I think is what they say. Don't cancel me for that one. Where it's like windmill country. And then you go back through like 7 towns of Germany, most of which are known for specific things, surrounded by culture of either Roman Catholicism or delicious cuisine, things of that nature. So the food is great when you get off the boat.
Right.
The experiences off of the boat don't suck. They're just long-winded. And these trips are made for people that don't want to zig when everyone is zagging. They just want to stay in the path.
They like the comfortability. They like having things like planned out. They like the safety.
Yeah.
And that's not the travelers that.
We are, and
No.
it's because we're younger, and like you obviously know this. You went to school over there. Shout out to all of the barristers of England. But at the same time, like it's kind of like you've talked about it before, like just going and immersing yourself in another culture. I think you were highly specific about the red light district, if I recall. But like, there's totally so much to learn
That's
about.
their culture.
Yeah, it is in its own right. But like that was kind of the one snafu that I didn't like about it is that there's nowhere to hide. Like there's no like you reprieve from the group gatherings. Like I don't want to do a 4-hour tour of this. And so I learned that you don't have to. So it took me a day or so. And there are some very cool parts. And this is them.
You know, I get what you're saying, and I guess like one of the frustrating things is because I know you loved the trip. Like I know it was a great time.
Oh, it was
But-
gorgeous.
But at the end of the day, like it's got to be frustrating at times, like knowing you're like over there, and there's so much you could do if you could just get out and stop at a few different places for like 3 days at a time. You know, that's the thing that has to be nerve-wracking about like a cruise.
That for sure. And like this one is a little different because you have nights you're docked in towns or full days you're there. I think what kind of holds you back, and I think I said this during our Mexico City episode as well, was when you do these tours and then you're dependent or stuck waiting. Like when I did the Mayan ruin tour, that one couple sabotages the whole afternoon because they were taking their sweet fucking time all morning, making you late for every stop.
Yeah.
And so like being at the mercy of a group is not our cup of tea, my cup of tea. I like to just kind of lone wolf it, you know, like let me go find the best food. Don't sign me up for a 45-minute drive to go eat at this one spot. Like that's kind of my thought process. And so we figured that out roughly around Strasbourg. Let me talk to you about Strasbourg, Chris. That town is legit. I say legit.
Was that your favorite?
That and Basel,
Basel,
Switzerland Basel is cool as shit. It's a little bit higher end, which I'm a high end guy, Cap. My shorts and shirt here are at least $6. Their jackets, we were just perusing, and you know when like you're like, oh yeah, and then she's like, oh, this one's 900, and you're like, yes.
Yes.
Put that bitch back.
Do you have layaway?
Yeah, they don't have layaway in this land of Swiss francs. Also, fuck the Swiss for making the euro irrelevant there. Like after a week of learning fucking German, like day by day, like couple words, they throw a whole new dialect at you, and they're like, "Oh no, your money's no good here, sir. Do you have maybe a credit card that's metal?" And you're like, "No, I don't. Can I have a donut? Like, can I just have one donut?" Strasbourg is legit, and we did some of the tourist stuff, but the culture really is cool. Like, I'm fascinated with the fact that these castles and these cathedrals, which I've seen now, I've gotten high in 5 cathedrals that are older than our country.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. For the Christians that are listening to this, find a new faith. Y'all are the worst. But at the same time, like that's one of my new favorite hobbies is smoking pot in people's religious homes. And so both Notre Dame Paris before it burnt, the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, the big ass fucker in Mexico City got high in the middle of Mass. The Cologne Cathedral, 12th century Eve. She can't reply. She was Team Axis. Don't worry.
Thank God.
Yeah. The Notre Dame of Strasbourg is gargantuan. And obviously you and I both grew up in Christian households. So there is something there where it's kind of neat to see that and see those things. But I have zero fucking regard for any of those people or their beliefs.
Yeah. But the churches are gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. Like the fact that they have, and then like and then the boat. This was the coolest part about the boat. The staff was immaculate. So if the people are listening, I think a lot of them are, and the younger guest population that we befriended maybe as well, they were a hoot and a holler. The staff was immaculate. They did a tour through German wine country. And for those that don't know, and I think Mimi is filming me, but if you take your hand and put it at 11 o'clock, that is at the elevation or the degree in which they grow the white wine or the grapes in Germany. And so down the Rhine River for about, I don't know, 7 clicks.
That's
the
your
fuck
landscape.
that is. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. It's just wineries on both sides. And with those comes garrisons and castles that guarded these towns, and boats had to pay tolls. And so we got to do a tour by boat with sommeliers giving us tastes of Rieslings and
That's dope.
Pinot de Blancs and whatever it may be. And then when you stop in these towns, and if they're German, they're like, oh yes, Koblenz is like, oh, our sparkling wine is better than those frogs. And then you go to Strasbourg and they're like, no, German wine is cheap and full of trash. Like, drink our wine. And then the Swiss are like, have you tried this Austrian wine? It's $92 a glass. And you're like, so like everybody has their cup of tea, but that was one of the coolest things about it. The food is
Okay,
the next.
let's get into the food. And I know Germany, it's khaki color.
Oh man,
But
it looks like our parents.
how good is some of that food? And what
I was pushing sausage like Johnny Sins, Chris.
I mean,
this stuff was delicious. And then they use these meaty gravies, and then they're like, "Oh, you didn't want just a hearty filled brat? Why don't we throw it over a bed of mashed potatoes that weighs more than our fucking computers?" Like, it is so preposterously unhealthy. It's awesome. I loved it. Sausages as far as the day is young. I think Eve has the recollection of the questions. I did not complete the Stein challenge.
that's okay. Man, fuck. I should have been like, bring back some delicious mustards that we don't think we can find here.
Oh, Chris.
Oh, you did?
Eve. I got a foie gras of goose, which you can't get in the States because of the unethical practices in which they fatten those fuckers up. It's so fucking good. It is so fucking good. We'll eat it with some fresh bread. Shout out to our friends at maybe Pouillette or Get Right. We're going to pick one of the two. We got that. I got some spicy mustards for us from the Germanic tribes. But I also brought back some wines, reds and whites. The reds are Italian. The whites are Germanic and French. The German wine that I bought out of this woman's cellar, like they build towns on top of, pre-existing towns when they burned down because they had no fire departments. They had everyone stacked on top of each other, whatever. So they're on like their third iteration of whatever, insert Speyer. Germany, like whatever town. So you're literally shopping in caves, and it's awesome. I bought this bottle of like 2012 Riesling for us to share for y'all's engagement.
Did it smell rather dingy down there?
It's moist. It smells kind of like
a wet cave.
Yeah, it smells like the rest of the fucking Germans. It's just, nobody wears deodorant over there. It's all cologne or bust.
Yeah, and there ain't enough cologne in this world that could.
Eve just did like a shrill low like shoulder. Okay, anyway, so the booze was hands down better than the food in Germany, but the food is good.
Yeah.
It's just not pretty in any aspect. But this is a part of the world that if you're picking a trip, like I've already spoken with folks in our social mediums, they're like, I'm headed here, here, and here. It's never, I'm flying into Frankfurt and sticking around. It's, I'm flying to Frankfurt and going to Paris or Berlin or sexier towns. So doing this run down this route, the food is not pretty or one that you would actively seek out is the problem. But if you find yourself in central Western Germany, there's a lot of good shit going on.
Germany's cool and it's beautiful.
It's gorgeous. Like its leaf peeping is like, I think it rivals what we see from social media folks that post from Maine and New Hampshire. It was like that. Like it was all yellow and red. There are touches of green. I went to the Black Forest where, shout out to gummy bears, ham, cake, armies that fall in winter, things like that. The Black Forest is legit. It's so fucking gorgeous over there. Like, I'm not a hiker. And after 8 days of eating like ungodly amounts of bread, I was like heaving. Like, I was like dying every like 10th of a mile. Like, you're leaning over like a 9th century bridge and you're just like, I don't know if I can get to another one. But the reason was the French were trying to kill me with butter and bread.
I think it's good for you.
I think it is too. It builds character, Chris, and multiple chins. I see how we got fat Chris. The amount of the varietals of potatoes is wonderful. Chris, there is also some of the foulest fucking food I've ever seen over there. Let me introduce you to a sausage salad. And I'm not talking about whatever your mom catches on a Saturday.
About that.
Oh my God. Why didn't y'all tell me? It's the worst. It's literally shaved bologna. or bologna with like pickled celery and onions, and it's shaved into noodle form. It may be the single grossest thing I've ever fucking had. It was so foul. The only person I think that would enjoy it would be my father, who eats tomato mayonnaise sandwiches on the regular, which I know that's your thing as well. But that's
So hold on.
I put those two as
So this was a
grossest things.
salad.
It was a salad. As
What kind
much
of dressing?
it was just like a pickled vinegar like salad. Chris, it was so gross. I can't tell you. I would rather cut off my ball sack than have to actually eat a whole
So were you
sausage.
one bite and done?
I was a 2-biter because I
Just
thought,
to make sure?
yeah, because you know I'll try anything
You can be-
twice,
yeah,
except for
well, you can't-
pegging. Don't peg twice.
Did you get others in the group to try?
Yeah, it's gross. It was a unanimous decision, and the waiter even looked at me like, "We're about to fuck this American's day up." Like this guy, he was like, "Yeah." Sausage." But what I thought when I saw sausage salad was like kind of like a charcuterie style. Like here's a couple different sausages and then a couple pickled, because it said pickled vegetables. So I was thinking
Okay.
jardinard. I wasn't thinking a cold shaved bologna salad with pickled cucumbers or pickled celery and onion.
You
It
know,
was
for
so bad.
some of those out there, I bet that really hits the spot. Like I bet there's a lot of people who love. I don't know.
People that kill others in their sleep is the only thing I can imagine. The 3 best bites I had.
Yeah.
Number 1, snails in Strasbourg. They were just so great. They were paired with an oyster mushroom, eerily similar to that of Jacques from our friends in Lohi. When I said they were the size of your fist and mistook them for a button cap, it was in that same camp of that like herbaceous flavor, but having a sauce over the top, delivered with puff pastry. Second best bite, Basel. There was a Hungarian. Oh, we got to talk about the food hall. There was a food hall called the Market Hall, Markthalle. I don't know when any of our listeners are going to find themselves in Basel, fucking Switzerland. But if you find yourself there, go to the Market Hall. It's about a quarter click or whatever the fuck they use over there.
Let's figure out how far is a click. What is that talk, Eve?
We've really asked Eve a lot of questions that we've gotten no answers
Yeah,
to today.
can you Google that right now?
You have not been very much help today, Eve. You've given zero feedback.
And is it because you don't have a mic? Are you just trying to sabotage this whole episode?
Yeah. Blink twice if you still like us. I know you missed me while I was gone, but
Don't widen your eyes. That's a sign. Well,
She's
that
on
is a sign of
drugs.
love and affection
Yeah,
in many
she is.
animals.
Did you see how she looked at me there? She was like, I missed the shit out of you. That's what I saw. What's it called? Okay, so my second favorite bite was from the Basel food market. And so they have 32 different vendors there, all representative of different genres of food. So we're not-
Better market halls than here.
Yeah, more
different,
true varietals. So like their communities or culture is so old. Like
Right.
these fuckers have been there for 5,000-10,000 years. So like Attila the Hun fought Germanic tribes there. And so there's a Mongolian like culture and community that's been there for 2,000, 3,000, 10,000 years. I don't know how old that guy is. I wish our producer had a microphone because then she could chime in there. But at the same time, don't worry about it, Eve. I'll look it up after this episode.
So how many miles equals one click? We'll
Anyway.
0.6214.
Oh,
So a
one
little
click
over
is
half of a
0.6
mile.
Yeah. Well, I rode like 6 clicks today. Anyways,
Let's start referring to.
things as clicks?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So anyways, so they have like all of these different representatives, but they have like 7th generation Chinese restaurants in the middle of like random Germanic towns. And they're like, no, we've been here since 1912. And you're like, and the food fucking slaps. The Thai food, immaculate. You know, the Hungarian quesadilla, Chris. Second best thing I had in 10 days in Europe.
Damn, I was thinking you were going to say like Hungarian spatzel or something. I think that's a big dish over there.
So this was, I don't know, they call it a gagamzel or something like that.
Goulash?
No, gogam something.
Okay.
We'll get Eve to look it up. But I'm calling it a Hungarian quesadilla because that's the closest thing I can relate it to. It was immaculate. Third best bite I had. We went to this little Germanic place in Cologne that was a brew house, beer house, whatever you fucking call them over there, where it's like Fogo de Chao with beer. So like whenever you put the top on your glass, they'll stop serving you. But they had these schnitzels. You can get it in whatever you want, pork, veal, chicken. The veal schnitzel, it was wonderful, Chris. It was
Just
wonderful.
really thin.
It was pattied out, but it also has like that proper crispiness where like you can cut through it and it holds the meat like a chicken fried steak, but better.
Yeah.
And then it comes with fucking potatoes and gravy. It was so damn delicious. I had a blast. The food was great. Shout out to the Arizona Wilsons for letting me tag along. I will tell you that I will never do one of those again. Never in my life. I probably won't ever do a group trip again unless it's organized and run by me.
How many people were in your group?
20-ish. But
That's a big group.
Yeah,
That's a lot
I'm
to
never
handle.
giving somebody else the keys
Like
to the car.
5 to
ever
6 people is okay.
and that's even still a problem because everybody has dietary restrictions or opinions on what is good and what is not, or they want to go shopping. Like, it's tough. And so from now on, I'm not doing hands off again. So that's the new rule. I'm not fucking doing that. That was miserable. Letting someone else be in charge of that, I'd rather eat my own fingers than do that again. But to be fair, the German fingers, aka sausages, were wonderful.
Would you rather eat that bologna salad, have to eat that at least 3 times a week for lunch for a year, or do another group trip?
3 times a week for a whole year. Do I have to finish it or do I just have to bite it once?
You have to eat a lunch size to where your stuff, like you're full.
I would rather I think it's more of a rip the Band-Aid off. Put me on one of those fucking cruises again.
Okay.
Damn,
I wish I could
salad
try
was
that.
so bad, man. That salad was so bad. But at the same time, this cruise wasn't terrible. Like, the people that put it on are nice. I had fun, but it's absolutely not something that I ever want to do again. And giving people that don't have, like, if you were in charge, I'd be okay. I trust you. If Eve was in charge, I'd probably be okay with it because I semi-trust her. Like, semi. I'm not going to give the keys to a car of someone I don't fucking know and have never met again, ever again. And seeing as I was just a guest on this run, I'm not complaining. Like, I had fun. The crew was fun. Like, the crowd that we were with was a hoot. But abso-fucking-lutely not will I never do one. It's just like we're not made for that. Like, don't fucking put a collar on me or... No, I'm not.
It's not like a high school field trip.
It was very like.
Well, that's not
But
what
see,
we
like
want.
at a zoo or at least a zoo, you can like meander from like feature to feature. This one, they're like, well, don't be. You're in a fucking land where you don't know the language, and they're like, well, we have you out here in this field. So like, if you don't stick with us, it's either that or Clive Owen's going to snipe you from the woods, Jason Bourne style. Like, that's the kind of towns we're in, where there's like no pivoting. Like, you had to do this or hang out on this boat. And so, fuck all. I'm not doing that again. But the food and the partying was great. I drank like a fish.
I would semi-trust Eve as well.
Yeah, like on a scale of 1 to
Semi-trust.
10, I'd give her like a 7.5.
She's athletic. So
We know
she's
that
quick on
from
her
our-
feet.
from
She's
our
quick
quick-
on her feet. So she can be nimble if we have to alter plans. Great quality with a vacation partner.
She can navigate a cobblestone road from her days of living in the back east, in the Northeast and the old country.
Yeah.
She probably knows her way around, places of witchcraft.
I bet she does know some sort of other language and stuff. She just is not telling us about that.
100%. By the way, I know enough French to get by. That's
Nice.
pretty fucking cool. Parlez-vous anglais? And then I got a little bit more.
Food choices may be questionable, but she would go with the flow if we were like, hey, we're going to not go there and go here.
Good, great, fantastic is our sliding. I've never heard her say, she's maybe said average, but I've never heard her say bad. So she's at least got a positive outlook on everything except for this podcast. And she at least tries new foods. So she would at least try a sausage salad.
Good, great, fantastic. Those are like some of our core values here at Stoned Appetit. We want everybody to be good, great, and fantastic.
All in all, Chris, I'm so happy for you and Steph. And I am so exhausted from partying for 10 days straight that I'm back in the gym. It was a great success. This was a great first episode back. You want to celebrate with some wine?
Yes.
Maybe some weed?
Yes. Where are we going to go for those?
None other than Mr. B's. Y'all stay high and stay hungry. We'll see you on Thursday.
Try a sausage salad.
Cheers!
Say cheers.
Cheers.
I hope we caught that.